Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Okay.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Today, we're talking with Cassandra Ciarallo, and Cassandra is an embodying self-expression enchantment coach. That's kind of a mouthful for me, but tell us all about what you're doing and how you're doing it and who you're doing it for.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jill, for having me here. It's such a pleasure. Yeah, so I call myself an enchantment coach. I help women who feel like they're stuck in self-doubt, who feel they have low self-esteem and really want something bigger for themselves, step into that, move out of their head and into their hearts, I like to say, because a lot of the things that keep us stuck in this negative self-talk and the low self-esteem are those narratives that don't serve us, and they're in the mind. And usually those women, and this is also my past self, are following the shoulds and listening to everybody else around them and people pleasing and, not listening to their true heart's desires. So I really help them using embodiment practices, tap into the self and get clear on what their yes is and what their no is and what that feels like in the body and what that feels like to start listening from within. And that's what I believe is a life of enchantment, is when we can really step into following the heart's desires and following what we're here to create and what our soul's meant to express here. So yeah, that's what I do. And like I said, I am speaking to my past self. This is the journey that I've been on myself. And these embodiment tools that I now teach have been life transforming, which is why I feel this mission and purpose to really help other women actualize their dreams, goals, and desires and really live the life they're meant to, or that they desire to, and that it's possible. So, yeah.
That is fascinating. So tell us your story, how you got on this journey. I know you said your clients are who you used to be, and often our mess is our message. So,
totally.
So what's your story?
Yeah, I love that. Our mess is our message. It's so true. So yeah, I've been an entrepreneur for almost a decade. I was running a sustainable fashion company for 8 years before this, where I really wanted to help the planet and people. And so I was collaborating with artisans in Bali and Cambodia who were uniquely repurposing goods from tires. I had one line made from recycled tires and one line made from recycled brass from Cambodia, and then a line from textile waste. And I just kind of continued to travel and meet these amazing artisans who were making everything by hand. And it opened myself up to this world of sustainability in the way that things are made, really seeing that there's a human being behind everything that we buy. And I became also really intrigued about waste. And so it was like this beautiful blend of my passion for the planet and really wanting people to invest consciously and think about the choices they're making when they're buying fashion items. And so I was kind of this little like eco activist. And yeah, super passionate, but I burnt myself out 3 times pretty bad. And the third time I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, this isn't why I became an entrepreneur, first of all. And I was just working like all the time, but I know that I wasn't being as efficient as I could be with my energy and my time. And I think it's when I look back, I was trying to do so many different things and I was looking outside of myself a lot for the answers, from coaches or mentors or people online, and didn't really know what my yes was or my no was. But also I was using money to validate my journey. When I would do really well or have really good months, it was like, oh my God, yes, amazing. This is the path for me. And then when I wouldn't, it would be like, I was so stuck in self-doubt. I was like, this isn't for me. I would be like in doom and gloom. I was just, these like really intense highs and lows. And I think people listening, just starting their entrepreneurial journey, can probably relate, because there's just intense highs and lows as an entrepreneur. And yeah, but I was like, there's got to be something different. There's got to be a different way. And so just before COVID, this other woman that I knew, who was also in the world of fair trade and was working with artisans in Nepal, she was selling her business and she was starting to teach what my teacher calls the art of feminine presence. And so she started to tell me about this work. And just in conversation with her, I was like getting goosebumps all over my body. And she was telling me, it's not about doing so much and forcing and pushing and striving and hustling all the time, but learning to be more in a receptive state in our body and slowing down and, really honoring the yin and the yang energy of doing and then resting. And it was just like this light bulb or something was going off, because my body just kept having goosebumps. And I'm like, I think I need to take your course. My body's doing a thing right now. So I took her course, level 1 and level 2. And then she invited me to do a weekend retreat with her teacher. And this was the summer after COVID. And already for a couple months, I was like, when COVID hit, I lost all my biggest trade shows. Importing had started to change. And then I was just going through a rough time. And I'm like, is this even what I want to continue to do? And even again, before COVID, I was sort of exploring like service-based offerings at the time that were connected to fashion. Didn't once think it would be this work at all. But anyway, so then I took that 3-day weekend retreat with her teacher in August of 2020. And I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like she's speaking to my soul, this woman. And so after 3 days of being with her, it was virtual, but it was nice that it was virtual, because I had the evenings to kind of integrate everything and sort of understand what I was learning. And it was all new to me. So it was all, it was a deepened integration of the practices I was already learning with this other woman. And that was, starting to slow down, be in the body. And I started to realize how disconnected I was from my own body and how I wasn't listening to so many of the impulses my body had been trying to tell me for so long. And which ultimately led to burning out those multiple times. So I took this course and I invested in an 18-month program. And at the time, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to teach this and I'm going to be a coach. It was literally just something pulled me, like my soul needs this right now. I think I just need this healing for myself. That was the investment intention, was that this was a gift for me. And then as the 18 months were progressing, 6 months in, I was seeing changes. I was showing up weekly, doing the practices myself. And there were just these little moments time and time again that just felt this like deep knowing, I guess I would call it, but this deep like emotional moment where I'm like, I think this is it. I think this is the next thing for me. And in the coaching training, people were like, you're so good at this. And I was definitely the youngest out of everybody in the group. So it was like to hear those things. At first, I went in there being like, oh my God, who the hell am I? Like, I'm so young, like in my 30s taking this, and everybody's just more mature. I feel like they have this wisdom and I don't. And so limiting beliefs. But the more that I continued to hear from others, wow, you're good at this. Wow, continue doing this. And the more I practiced, it was just like developing my level of self-confidence and skill. And yeah, so it's been a year and a few months now. It was that I just passed my year. So I got certified in February of 2022 or in 2023. Yeah, I'm like trying to think of the years.
Just fly by, don't
I
they?
know. and then yeah, they do fly by. And it's crazy. We're in 2023, right? And already like more than halfway through the year. But so yeah, in April, I passed my first paying client, like a full year of receiving money for this new venture. And it's just been like, yeah, it's just been so amazing to really be doing something that I feel like comes naturally and is something that I love to do. And where I'm at right now, it's like I'm using the tools and practices all the time, right? Like, just like you said, again, your mess is your message. Like I tell my clients all the time, I'm in this just as much as you are. I teach my group course and I say, ladies, I'm doing this work just as much as you are. I'm just a couple steps ahead. Maybe I've just been practicing this for a little bit longer, but I still experience the same things. I still catch myself. But when I do the practices, I can pull myself out much quicker. And it's like those crazy highs and lows of entrepreneurship. Now I say it's just like, there's so much more of this middle ground where the waves are they're much more manageable. There's not such highs and lows, but there's like little ones. And then I just come right back. So there's way more balance. And I can catch myself when I hear those negative thoughts, when I feel things. It's just, I don't know that we ever get to a place where we don't experience that. I think it's just like we get really good at coming back to center over and over and over and over again. And that's the work. We're like building these muscles. I tell my clients we're going to the gym in a new way, and you're just practicing reprogramming, repatterning your entire nervous system. So yeah, well, that's a long-winded answer, but that is my story.
It's great. I've got all these questions for you. The first question I have for you, I know is kind of like off the path of what you were talking about, but when you mentioned that some of your suppliers were using tires for their resources. Were they making shoes?
They were, yeah, they were.
I saw those years ago. I thought they were the coolest thing. I actually went out and got some tires and tried to do the same thing, but
oh wow,
I wasn't that good at it. So
it's
they became planters.
yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Anyway, purpose. So I did have the shoes. I didn't have too many of them because I found that the feedback I got was just that they're really stiff, right? Like the sole was the actual tire. So they were using inner tubes for a lot of the other things. So I had bags, which were like really good quality bags. They were all waterproof. And then they really did a great job at the bracelets. And so I don't even have any here, which would have been cool to show, but like these really big intricate pieces that were all hand carved with cool designs that almost made it look like you were wearing a tattoo or you had a tattoo on your arm. Yeah. But it was just this like really big, kind of bold, unique fashion statement. So it was really cool.
That sounds really fascinating.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about, you had you had a message that you sent to me, and you were talking about things that were a struggle for you, and you said getting lost in the sauce. I thought that was such a great turn of phrase because that is a thing for entrepreneurs. You just get lost in all of the sea of stuff out there. What did you mean by it?
Yeah, I think really what that means to me is similar to some of the language I was using earlier to describe just that looking outside of myself, right? Like there's a million and one ways you can run your business as an entrepreneur. And it's really easy to look at all of these people outside of us. Oh my God, you have to do this for email marketing and this on social media and this in person and this go networking and this podcasting, right? And then it's just like, holy crap. I think what's important is, and the work that I've been doing is really getting clear on like what lights me up, because there's always going to be a million and one people that things work really well for them and it might not work really well for you. And I hear a lot of people saying, oh, but I got to show up on social media. And I'm like, well, do you like video? And they say, I hate video. And I'm like, well, don't do something you hate. That's going to be the worst thing ever, because you're going to force yourself to show up. So you're like pushing yourself, taking so much of your energy to try and do something that is not natural to you. If you have a deep desire to learn and because you feel like you might be good at it, but you're afraid, that's a different story. But if you're like, I hate doing that, I really don't want to do it, but I feel like I have to, and I hear that from a lot of people, I'm like, why don't you find the thing that lights you up? So this is what I've been exploring for myself is, well, what lights me up and how do I build my business around like the 3 strong pillars of the things I'm really going to focus on and show up in that way, because I know I'm going to draw people in that way. If I'm doing things that light me up, oh my goodness, because that's the energy we want to be in that like glow and that excitement and that what gets our juices going.
It's just the working in the zone of genius makes everything so much easier.
Yes.
Like when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, everything flows seamlessly. It's like the next person that you're supposed to be listening to, the next book, the next, I don't know, just like the people are drawn to you because you're just shining your light, and the people that are meant to see your light or be helped by your light can find you.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you become magnetic. And that's kind of the essence of what I want to help people get to. Like that is your enchantment. When you can be in a state of doing all of the things like you said and following that intuition and being in that, oh my God, this synchronicity and that's flow. That's the flow state. That's the universe guiding you. That's you following the breadcrumbs. That's you being on the journey and not always needing to know what the next step is from the mind, right? And needing to have all the answers figured out. It's allowing and receiving and enjoying. And that's the fun part of life. Yeah.
You said something about the feeling in your body, and that is so powerful. If people would just be able to slow down enough in what they're doing. Oftentimes I find entrepreneurs and coaches, especially, they're so sorry, they're so running around scattered and trying to do all of the things that they think that they need to do. Like you were saying, if you don't like video, don't do video. But instead of slowing down and just feeling what it feels like in your body, what is your body telling you? Because your body is always sending you messages. It really starts in your body and goes to your brain, but we all think that it starts in your brain and goes to your body.
Yeah.
Your thoughts happen in your head, and those thoughts can cause body problems. But if you can just let your body tell you what you should think, instead of trying to have your head tell your body what it should be doing.
Absolutely. I love how you articulated all of that. I think the problem is that society doesn't really know how to just stop and question, like, how do I feel right now? That was the hardest thing for me to start to do. Just slowing down and asking, how do I feel? I never knew the answer because I didn't even know what I was feeling. And I see that over and over again with my clients, is that there's a something going on, but I don't know how to describe what I'm feeling in a word. So I don't really even know what I'm feeling because I've never even asked myself what I'm feeling before. So the more we can get clear on what the body is saying, there's so much wisdom there, like you said, right? To know how to say, okay, wait, how am I feeling? And then ask, what's the next logical step for me? Or what's the next move? Or, guide me to what I can do next. Oh my God, there's so much expansion and freedom in that versus, when I lived, and I still have to catch myself, my mind can have my whole day planned, my whole week planned, my whole month planned. And then there's no room to even let that body, heart, soul guide. So, the practice of doing less is literally a practice. It's actually creating white space in your calendar. It's actually creating white space for downtime, for just even starting with a few moments in your day to just say, okay, taking a breath, and how do I feel right now? During your lunch break or dinner. I wouldn't even take a lunch break. I would just work with my food, just continuing to be at the computer all day long. How unsustainable of a life was I living? And I know a lot of people are doing the exact same thing. And now it's if I don't take a lunch break and get outside, I can't. Now my body craves that, right? Because if I don't get it, then I can feel, holy crap, I'm starting to get a headache. I need space from this computer and technology. It's my body will tell me it's been too long and you need a break. So, and before I would just push through and I wouldn't listen to those cues, and those cues would be numbed, right? When I would feel that, it's oh, well, let's just have a drink after work, or let's do all these other things that just numb the bad feelings in my body. And that's a hard thing for a lot of us to do. Or whether we're eating food that is not good for our bodies, or we're craving sugar, or we're going for that cigarette, right? Whatever it is, it's a numbing agent. And so, I invite you to reflect in your life as you're listening, what are you using to numb? And is there another way for you to actually bring some spaciousness to what you're feeling? Because that's just kind of masking, again, what's really going on underneath. So there's nothing wrong with it, but it's an inquiry. It's a moment to give yourself more space. Right? I don't want to shame anybody, or I was there too, doing all the things that numbed me, which is why I didn't even feel. And it's a journey. And I just think there's a space or an invitation to pause and reflect and say, hey, well, how am I living? And what do I want to do differently? And how can I add more space?
It doesn't take a lot of time, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there during your day. If you just, shut your computer lid down, or, go outside and walk around in your yard or the block if you're at work. It's just taking time to just let your body talk to you, just listening. I used to think meditation was clearing your mind of all thoughts, but the more I practiced it, I realized that it can be done anywhere. You can meditate while you're walking, but it's just a process of listening to your body rather than talking at your body. We all have that little voice in our head that wants to tell us what to do and run over the things that aren't beneficial to us. But
Mhm.
if we can just take 5 or 10 minutes, and it takes 10 minutes to walk around the block. That 10 minutes of just breathing and feeling
Mhm.
can make
Mhm.
the whole difference for the rest of your day.
Totally. Yeah, beautifully said. And I even would make it smaller. Like for people who are listening thinking like I got no time. I don't even got 10 minutes. 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes. And the 2-minute rule or the 2-minute practice is like you have 2 minutes to take a breath or 2 minutes to just stand outside. But then 2 minutes always, well, naturally turns into 5 or 10 minutes, right? But if you can just say I'm going to do 2 minutes or I'm going to do 2 minutes of a meditation, right? Like I think that that's easier for the brain to wrap around versus like, oh, I don't even have 10 minutes, right? Because I think some people are thinking like that right now. Like, I don't even have 10 minutes. I can't even squeeze another thing into my day. Now I have to go outside and now I have to go take a walk, right? This isn't something like this is 2 minutes of your day that will support you in the best way possible.
I started meditating with Headspace, and they had 3-minute
Was it 2 minutes?
meditations. Yeah.
Cool.
And I thought 3 minutes was a really long time when I first started meditating.
Yeah.
It can
Yeah.
feel like forever to sit
Mhm.
there and listen or breathe. Breathe in, breathe out, and count.
Mhm.
But those simple exercises have helped me in so many other ways. And it does so much for just re-regulating your central nervous system and
Totally.
helping you to get clarity on what am I thinking about? Because we think thoughts all day long. And sometimes we get stuck in these loops of things that are just not serving us in any positive way. But instead of slowing down enough to say, I don't have to think about that.
Mhm.
Can't do anything about it. It's not going to change the outcome. It's not that if I'm thinking about another person, they don't even know.
Mhm.
So what good is that to me? It's like,
Mhm.
drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. It's just not going to happen. The only person who's going to be injured in that situation is you.
Totally. And I think with practice, right, this is kind of the place that I've noticed myself be able to do and with clients is that it's that repatterning when you can cut yourself in the middle of that story or that narrative and really catch yourself in the loop and bring yourself into the body. Because anytime you're in the body, you're in the present moment. So you're not in a past narrative. You're not predicting the future from a worried state. You're just here and now. And you can move out of the head and into the body. And that's the beauty of embodiment is that you're in the experience of the now. And even when you're on the walk, right? Like giving yourself 2 minutes to take some space. This was my practice in the beginning because I would notice, oh shit, I'm outside taking space, but the whole time I'm just in my head. I'm not even really taking space. So it's a continual practice to drop into the body, right? And even right now, as you're listening, can you take a moment to feel your feet on the ground? This is what I'm doing. As I was saying it, I'm like feeling my feet on the ground, feeling your seat on the chair, right? And when you're out for the walk, really feeling your feet touching the ground, really feeling your hips move as you're swaying with each step and noticing the movements of your body. I started to get so attuned to like, oh, wow, I'm so hunched over. Can I straighten my back? Can I straighten my posture? The more connected to the body I was, the more I would just continue to align my posture, right? And open the heart, open the shoulders, and not be so hunched in. This is like the normal posture now, right? Like to the computer, we're all like hunched over, neck and everything. So it's just the most beautiful thing. The more we just take those small moments and feel in the now. Okay. And then you're cutting off those loops over and over again. It doesn't even matter where you were, just cut them and just come into the moment. When I'm chopping vegetables, oh yeah, I realize I'm just in a spiral. Okay, chop the vegetables. And then all of a sudden I feel this pleasure coming over me. And it's just this activation of presence, right? We're actually being in the present moment in the experience of life feels good. It feels nice. It feels good. And the more that we can create that safety in the body to not be like so afraid in the fight or flight, like these are the powerful moments over and over again. We create safety. It is okay to be here now. It is okay to be in the present moment. It's okay to be in your body. You can drop into the body because there's
You
a
don't
lot
have
of,
to, I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. Go ahead.
There's a lot of momentum towards always in the future
Hmm.
when you like the next thing that I have to do instead of focusing on the thing that you're doing, the chopping of the vegetables. Sometimes there's a ritual around it, and rituals would just make us appreciate the action. The Japanese have a tea ceremony. When I was young, I lived in Japan and I got
Oh,
to go
cool.
and experience one, and it stayed with me for a lot of years. Normally when we make tea, we just boil the water, pour it on the tea bag, and we're good to go. Takes a couple seconds and we drink it. Their process is like 30 minutes long, and it's honoring each individual piece of the process. The
Wow.
whisk to stir, and you stir so many times, and the heating of the water in the special pot, and the mixing of the ingredients. And then when you get to the actual drinking of the tea, there's kind of a ceremony around that too. But because you've been so involved in the process, it just looks, it's just it's an experience. I don't know how else to explain it, but an experience that involves all of your senses instead of just, rushing through things. It's appreciating the senses that we have. And intuition is one of our senses, and having the ability to just be in tune with what is happening in your body, in the space around you, what you're smelling, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're tasting, and what you're feeling.
I love that. I love that story. It's like it's so intentional, and I love the idea of ritualizing all these things that we do. It's so special. It's such a beautiful way to live life. It's intentional and with a sacredness of like, I'm such a tea drinker, and I feel like you saying that, I'm like, oh my goodness, I would love to ritualize it more. Like I think I do, but I think that I still do some things very fast, and even my mind went to, wow, that's a long time, as you were saying that whole thing, 30 minutes, so it's like that narrative that I have, the programming of too, like, oh my gosh, that's too long. And I'm sure maybe people listening might also have been maybe said that in their head, but it's like, wow, I want to practice slowing it down. And it doesn't mean that right away I have to make it 30 minutes, but that I can try to just really be more intentional in that process. And that's what I'm hearing you say. And what we're talking about, right, is ritualizing anything brings you into the moment. So whatever we're doing that can activate us into the present moment is the beauty of anything.
Exactly. Exactly. You were talking about chopping vegetables, and it's just like,
Yeah,
I love to chop vegetables, but just the process, sometimes you're just like trying to get it all done to
all
throw it in the
done.
pot.
Yeah,
But I like to cook, and each piece is important. And it can be, if you slow down, just the whole process of cooking makes the meal all that much more fantastic.
yeah. And I actually learned something recently. So I've been getting acupuncture for a few years at a clinic that I go
Mhm.
to near my house. And I asked one time, um, what do you recommend as you're eating? Is there anything that you do before you eat? And she had said, it's actually the process of cooking that's more important, and the energy that you're in when you're making the food versus when you're eating it as much, because all of that is actually going into you. So I love that you said that specifically. And I think we can gloss over that. Often we're making meals in a hurry, or we're rushing the process, and we're rushing eating probably too. But the more that we can ritualize that, like all of that energy, that love, that appreciation is going into the meal that we're making, and then we're eating that. So like thinking about the energy that everything is done in, and how that translates and transforms into the life we're living. It's so fascinating and miraculous. So cool. No wonder you enjoy your meals so much. They're made with so much intention.
They are made with intention, and the more
Yeah,
they aren't all. I mean, I'm a human being, and I have get busy, and I do
for
stuff too.
sure.
But
Mm.
the overall process and gratitude for your food, and
Mhm.
just taking a moment, and as you're preparing it, it actually changes the composition of the food
Totally.
so that it meets the needs of your body. It's And there's science behind that. You
Oh
bless your
yeah.
water, and it will
Mhm.
change the constitution of the water, how the
Oh yeah.
molecules form together. It's
Mm.
crazy. Energy is such a crazy thing. It's
It is, isn't it? It's so fascinating and amazing. And I think the power of this whole conversation is that even just starting with a few simple moments a day of dropping into your body, dropping into the breath, and being present actually starts to really change the molecular structure and your DNA in the body. It really does. Like,
and it goes
and
for generations.
for sure. Yeah, generations. Oh, wow. I don't
It
actually think
changes your
about
DNA, and it
that.
changes the DNA of your offspring.
I haven't actually taken that in because I don't have kids yet and I want kids, but that's so profound for me right now. Wow. Hmm. Cool.
So what's the one thing you'd like to leave the audience with?
Hmm.
What's the most important takeaway, do you think, from this conversation?
Mm. I would say what I've said many times, but just really, if you feel like you are in a place where you have no time and you're go, 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 and you're in verge of burnout very often, then I would say your first step is to insert moments, just moments of calm and connection into the body in your day. And can start with the question of asking, how am I feeling? And just taking those few moments. And if you're listening and if you're somebody who's like, I've been doing that, what's the next thing for me? I would say, I mean, keep asking your body, what do I really want? What do I really want? What do I really want? Because and what I would leave the audience with wherever you're at is keep the purpose of connecting with your body is to get more clarity around what it is that you really want. Because I would love to see more women and people moving towards what they really want, and it's risky to do that and it can be vulnerable. But like move towards your daydream, move towards that dream, that vision. Like, it is possible. It is. And I'm here to tell you that the more little steps that you take towards it, the more that you will just feel more fulfilled in your life. So yeah, that's what I want
Universe
to leave.
absolutely will reach up and make the ground solid. All you have to do is step, even though you don't know that the ground is going to be solid there. It will be.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
universe just like it wants to help you be creative and to be the person you were created to be. You have a purpose. We all have something that we're here to share. And when we get into that zone, the zone of genius, that place that everything is easy and it flows.
Yeah.
It's because you were meant to do that. You're
Mhm.
here for that purpose. So, Cassandra, how do people work with you? How can they get in touch with you? And this has just been like so fascinating. I love talking about this.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. This has been such a fun conversation. Thank you so much, Jill. So I work with people one-on-one. I also run a group program. I do also corporate events, and I'm working on some retreats right now. So the best way to connect with me is to follow me on Instagram at Coaching with Cass. My website is also coachingwithcass.com. And yeah, you can book a connection call if you feel like that's in alignment, or you can join my next free webinar. I host monthly webinars on a couple different topics that are really a great way for you to have an in the body experience. So I share different embodiment practices on all of the workshops. And yeah, it's a great way for people to get to know me more, to have an experience and see if this is the work that you'd like to move forward in. Like, if embodiment is for you, right? If this is sort of the practice that calls, and if you're curious to, how do I get more in my body and how do I really cultivate that self-expression? Where do I start? This, like, come to a free workshop and yeah, you can start there. Mm-hmm.
That is so awesome. I really love that you're putting out information to help people at least get started, because once you get on that path, it's really hard to like get pushed off of it. It's just like, oh, this feels good. I think for me, the hard part's just remembering.
Totally.
Path is here. It is easy. Yeah. You don't have to make that decision. You can just make the decision to be still and let the decision happen.
And we're making that choice every day. We're coming back. The more we come back to our body, the more easily we can remember that. We can remember that we're safe, that we're held, that we're loved, that we're supported. And yeah, that's the path to our own freedom and expansion.
I think being in community with other people that are also on that path makes it easier too.
Totally.
Think that's where your types of programs really help.
Absolutely. I see the biggest transformation in that is also being witnessed in community, right? Where we can say how we feel and others are listening. And then there's a lot of practices that I guide around witnessing another, and it can be super self-conscious, but it's like this beautiful, safe, sacred space that I cultivate, and that women, when they can drop into that, oh wow, oh, it is safe, oh wow, I'm receiving such beautiful feedback based on a woman witnessing me, it changes the way we start to think about ourselves. And it's really, really powerful. So yeah, I love that you say in group, in community. It's definitely potent transformation there for sure.
It is for sure. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What a pleasure. What a great conversation.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at The You World Order or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.